So you remember a year or two back when Central Intelligence came out, that movie with The Rock and Kevin Hart that wasn't great, but it was funny enough and they had a good rapport going. Mostly it felt like the kind of buddy movie you used to get one of every week or so in the 90s and early 2000s, and then they just kind of stopped making one. Well, Set Up is a newish made-for-Netflix movie that kind of wants to be that, but for romantic comedies. Part of a whole initiative at the streaming giant that aims to turn, hey, that was cute and good enough, back into a precision-engineered Hollywood science. So call this a B+ for sort of effort. Our premise is that Zoe Deutsch and Glenn Powell are the plucky, put-upon 20-something personal assistants to Lucy Liu and Taye Diggs as, respectively, a famous lady sports reporter launching her own high-profile website and a high-finance advisor who are both high-strung, type-A, jerk-ass workaholics whose offices occupy the same downtown Manhattan high-rise where they work all hours of the day, and thus their frazzled, overworked assistants also work all hours of the day and end up becoming nighttime, we're the only other two people here buddies. In the course of this, they decide a good way to engineer themselves some free time would be to use their intimate knowledge of their boss's likes, dislikes, and schedules to manipulate them into falling for each other and getting into a dating relationship, hopefully freeing up some time for Deutsch to work on the article she hopes will help her become a sports writer in her own right and maybe find a love life of her own, and Powell to spend more time with his gorgeous but vapid and unlikable model girlfriend. Wonder where this is going, huh? So it's the Parent Trap, but instead of parents, it's trendy young professionals in center of the universe, New York, and instead of parents, it's their figurative father-mother figure bosses whom they are both annoyed with but also obsessed over and emulating, in which being up weird hours at your vaguely defined job because a perilous scramble for upward mobility in New York beats literally anything in whatever town you fled from is framed as exciting and almost noble in a way. Geez, did they let the Netflix algorithm write the damn thing too? You pretty much know where it's all going from there. Plans fail comically, other plans succeed adorably, the two sincere characters have a sincere, slow-building romantic chemistry, the two blustery over-the-top characters have a blustery over-the-top chemistry, schemes go well, then they go too well, one half of the sincere couple gets a conscience about things before the other does, and there's tension, one half of the over-the-top couple maybe has a secret that can be a wrench in the whole thing, there are breakdowns and confrontations, and if you can tell just from the advertising who Netflix decided the audience must be, you already know which of the demanding, hard-headed office tyrants will have those personality traits reveal they're even an actually worse person on the inside, and which one will have those exact same traits be shown as actually positive in context and worthy of emulating after all. Also on hand, insightful and witty gay best friend, jokes about waxing, extending New Yorkers sure love their pizza dialogue exchanges, and existential panic at people younger than you seemingly figuring out their lives and getting engaged while you're still barely keeping it together. Wow, they didn't miss a beat, did they? But is it good? It's fine. It's a fine, deliberate throwback to a particular version of the rom-com genre that seldom, if ever, strived for more than fine to begin with, is the thing, and it's actually kind of fascinating to watch a movie deliberately aim for layups instead of slam dunks over and over again, as though being too fresh or too interesting might break the spell of sending an audience the approximate age of the main protagonists, briefly hurtling back to the good old days of 2004, I guess. Except the thing is, those older, cheesier rom-coms were trying. They weren't unsophisticated, they were just of their time. So the imitation here, played mostly straight with only a minimal dusting of self-parody, ends up feeling more like low effort now than an authentic attempt to revive the lost art of one weekend wonder rom-com. It's agreeable enough, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's also not a lot right with it either, and the by now familiar Netflix aesthetic of here's the scenes we calculated you'd actually want to watch, and here's the parts we didn't even try because we know you're just looking at your phone or down at your dinner anyway, does no favors to the point-and-shoot ready material. The cast is fun. Well, Powell is sort of the opposite of memorable here, which is too bad because I liked him and everybody wants some a lot, but 3 out of 4 isn't bad, and what's odd is that the two kind of boring normal people get a lot more screen time than the two much more famous actors with the more colorful, funny characters to play, which feels like poor resource allocation. In the end, it's serviceable and it has its heart in the right place, but I feel like you should still put more effort into this, even if it's a deliberate low-energy affair. 2 stars. If Netflix is really going to make a lot more of these, I hope they try a little harder going forward. You know, that episode of Luke Cage this season that Lucy Liu directed, that was really solid though. I wonder if she's on the shortlist for Captain Marvel.